My name is Carroll Reusch.
And could you spell that?
Carrollreusch.
And you have a middle name of Frederick.
Frederick, yes.
Yes. So it sounds like you are German origin.
I am, yes.
Yeah. So tell me about your. Oh, what is your birthday?
April 12th, 1932.
1932. So you are 78?
88.
80? Your face cheating.
Yeah.
You don't.
88 and a half, really.
But your face looked like a 68.
Yeah. Well, I did good until, things
Yeah.
catch up to you after a while,
Wow. And where were you born?
In Valley City, Ohio. It's Medina County.
What is the name of city?
Valley City.
Valley City in Ohio.
Yeah. It's Medina County.
And tell me about your family, your grandpa and your parents, your siblings, and when you were growing up.
Everyone, I believe, were farmers pretty much when they first came here. Some had different things going for them, but ours were here started like the 17-something. Mm-hmm. So it was strictly farmers as far as I know. And that's how my grandfather had a farm. Then my father grew up there. And then when he got off the farm, more or less, and got married, he was like a miller, worked in a mill, that type thing.
And you said that your grandfather was in the World War I?
No,
your father.
My father. Yes.
Father, tell me about it. What was his name and what did he do?
His name was Claude, C-L-A-U-D-E. C-L-A-U-D.
Oh, Claude.
D-E.
Yeah.
Reusch, R-E-U-S-C-H.
Yes.
He was in the First World War, and he ended up in France and was only there kind of a short time, and the war ended. So he lucked out real well. Mm-hmm. And I had a brother. He was in the Second World War in the anti-aircraft division, whatever, and he ended up in Belgium his last year or so. And myself in Korea.
Yes.
I was there for my 21st and 22nd birthday. And I was there like 15 months. Mm. And my two sons were in the Navy, one 6 years and the other 4 years. My granddaughter, one of my son's daughters, retired from the Air Force with 23 years.
Wow.
So I'm getting older here. And her sister is in the reserves now. She's been doing this 2-month deal for almost ever, it seemed like. So I don't know just when she started that. But we have served our country the best we could.
You are the family of military tradition.
Pretty much. I was drafted. I didn't join. I was drafted. So it's a military tradition to answer the call from the state, from the country. Right.
Yes, that's very good. Tell me about the school you went through when you were growing up. Elementary, middle, and high school, and so on.
Okay, we were all in one
grade school?
One big building. It was, and we had no kindergarten when I went. Our children all went through that, but we had 12 grades. And I graduated in 1950 at 18 years of age. And after about 2 or 3 more years, the schools, 3 different schools, got together and they had ours turned into Buckeye High School, but we had like four 4 big schools then instead of 4 times 3, say 12 schools or whatever it might have been. So
it's a Buckeye High School?
Yeah.
Buckeye High School, right?
Yes.
Where? In
Medina County.
Medina.
Yeah.
Could you spell it?
It's a Medina address.
And that was 1950. So before the Korean War break out, right?
No, this was after 1950.
When did you graduate high school?
1950.
Right. So you graduated at Buckeye High School.
No, in Valley City, actually Valley City, but 3 years later, everything changed over. So our kids all went different, than...
Yeah. So, did you learn anything about Korea from the school?
Well, no, because I got out. I graduated in 1950 in May, and this happened the 25th of June, the following month.
But my question is, did you learn about Korean history, where Korea is in the map, from the school, in the world history class or anything?
No, I was gone from all that, so no one knew anything about Korea.
No one knew anything about Korea?
Not 1950 or less.
Yes.
Yeah, because I graduated in 1950.
So why did you decide to join the military?
I got this letter in the mail.
Draft notation?
Congratulations, you, whatever, So that's when I...
when was it?
50, in the early part of 52.
So you got the draft notice from the country in early 52, right?
Yeah, right.
And so did you draft, were you drafted or did you enlist?
I was drafted.
You drafted.
That called for 2 years in and 6 years in reserves after.
I see. So where did you go to get the basic military training?
I started off, I went to Fort Meade, Maryland. That's where they told me I was going to be a medic. So from there, we went to Camp Pickett, Virginia. That's where I got my training. 2 months infantry training and then 2 months medical training.
Medical training.
That was all we got there.
And so what kind of medical training did you get?
Well, how to give shots and this and that. And it was very basic, but when the doctor has to go like 6 years and we go in 2 months, our job is, where I was a combat medical technician, you might say. I was in the infantry the whole time, just like I was in the infantry, other than I was the medic. We had like 5 medics in our company, once we get to that. 1 in each platoon, and then one that's kind of like the senior medic. So the training was pretty sketchy, but once we got to Korea and got involved with the doctors and this and that, you kind of learned a lot of stuff fast. And our main thing was being the medical doctor in infantry, was to stop the bleeding, and get them back to MASH or wherever you might, depending on what the seriousness of the injury might have been. We had 3 MASH hospitals in Korea.
So when did you leave for Korea? From where in the United States?
I left from Camp Stoneman, California.
Yeah.
Underneath the Golden Gate Bridge.
Yes.
As we get out, the bridge gets smaller and smaller, and wondering what's going to happen to me now? Where are we going? Well, we know where we were going. We started off. We ended up going to Formosa first. Dropped off supplies for the Navy. It's Taiwan now. And then we went to Okinawa, and then to Tokyo, got rid of our Class A uniforms in Tokyo. We had fatigues, which I was going to be wearing now for the next over a year, 15 months in fact. We got on a merchant marine ship from there and went up to Busan, which they changed the name to Busan, I guess. I don't know what it is right now, if they changed back or not. And then a 200 and some mile railroad trip up to North Korea. We went through Seoul, which was all burned out. Few people around there scavenging through rubbish, trying to get food, and it was a real sad situation. You know, it was.
Can you tell me more about the sad situation in Seoul and over the Korea that you saw in the beginning?
Right. Okay. So we, of course, we went right through. We went right up to the rail head ended, you know, where the rails ended. That's where we got off. That's when we got on trucks, 6x trucks or whatever they called them. And we went up. I went up to the 3rd Repo Depot, and that's the 3rd Division where they assigned where you were going to go. So at that point, they assigned me to the 65th Regiment's 3rd Division, and I ended up in the 1st Battalion, Charlie Company. And but when I first got there, we was in kind of a big group of people before we really got assigned to where I just mentioned. I was a litter bearer. I started out as a litter bearer for probably...
What is that?
You carry a litter which carries the wounded. Oh. So I had to work my way into being the medic, you know.
So when did you leave for Korea from Camp Stoneman? When was it? 1950?
1952, about the 20th of February.
20th of February.
That's real close.
52, right?
Because I reported into Camp Stoneman at Friday the 13th. And I was there probably about a week, you know. I like that, starting out on Friday the 13th, you know. But
you said you don't remember, but you remember the even date.
Oh, yeah. And I went over on the USS Mitchell troop ship. A lot of, I don't know how many were on it. And we, where do I go from here?
My question, I have a lot of questions. So you saw Seoul completely destroyed and people were looking for...
We went through kind of the edge of it, you might say.
And people were looking for anything to eat, right?
Yeah, saw some of that, yeah.
What were you thinking about it?
What am I doing here? No,
what am I doing, right?
Yeah. What can we do? What do we have to do? You know, I mean, I don't know, you think of all this good stuff, you know. Mm-hmm. But I found out how good the Korean people were.
How?
Oh, just, they're nothing but excellent.
Tell me more about it.
I might be going ahead a little bit, but in our company we had 38 Korean Katusas, which from the regular army. In our 200 that we had, 38 of them were Korean. Mm-hmm. Jin Byung-han, An Moon-mo, and Jae Han-siki. Now all the rest of the other 35 or whatever, I swear most of them had Kim in their name, and the ones I knew the best didn't have Kim in their name. I never did figure that one out. Yeah. But Jin Byung-han was a school teacher by trade, and just the nicest person you'd ever want to know. And I'm sorry I didn't get his address from him when I left, but I didn't. And but he had the Bible out, transferring, going back and forth from English to Korean. You know, and he could speak pretty darn good English. You know.
Really?
Yeah. The other, An Moon-mo, was a little bit, and Jae Han-siki just about nil. You know, but.
So you had a good time with the Korean soldiers there.
Yeah. I got in with them after the war more so, because they spread them out a little bit more in our outfit. I think they kept them kind of together the other time, and they weren't in my platoon, so I didn't know. All I knew was my people. You know.
So Katusa means Korean augmentation to the U.S. Army. So it's a Korean soldier attached to the U.S. unit working together, right? Yes.
Yes, and Sergeant Kim was more or less in charge of them. If they got them all together, he was in charge.
So you went to the C Company of the 1st Battalion, 5th Regiment of the 3rd Division. So your main duty in the beginning was to carry the people, wounded soldiers, and
that didn't last too long, and I got into Charlie Company at that point.
Yeah.
But we went over before that happened. When I was in the pool of people, we went over and helped Fox Company bring some wounded back from the front lines. We went up to bring a couple back, and we ended up bringing more than a couple. I guess we had a couple wounded as doing our duty to bring back some of the wounded.
Do you know where you were?
Near the Kumwa Valley.
Kumwa Valley.
I was to two different areas. I mean, they moved you around there, and there was no sign saying where you were at.
Kumhwa and then
Chorwan,
Chorwan.
I believe. But we moved different areas sometimes.
And when did you arrive in Busan? Do you remember? Must be March?
March 19th.
Wow.
No, that first. My birthday's April, so that's why I got my first of two birthdays.
He remember everything.
Well,
he remember everything. So you are.
Yeah, you know, I dropped that from my memory after about a year home, after I started getting nervous, but this said, now that the United States and Korea honors the veterans from all nations, whatever, you start to think now that when people start thinking that they're giving us some credit, and made us all feel better, I'm sure.
So you are such a bad liar. You said that you don't remember. Everything is in your memory there.
I can tell. There's some stuff I'm not going to tell you too.
So how was the situation in the front line in Kumhwa and Iron Cholwon? It's one of the most. That's the area where the most of the severe battles took place. It's an iron triangle.
Yeah.
But tell me about the battle situation at the time that when you were there.
Well, luckily a lot of that was over with, but they still tried to come as time went on, and they were going to have an armistice, where the North Koreans and Chinese are here and we're here. Well, they tried to push on, so when everyone had to go back, they would get maybe our high land. So they were always trying to get a little more land.
Yeah, even an inch, right?
Right. So my part was more or less holding what we had. It wasn't, but we did go into enemy territory a few times. And
were many soldiers wounded and killed when you were there?
A few. Yeah.
Tell me more about it. What was it, and how did you feel about it?
I can only tell you my platoon. I don't know, because it seems like our platoon did different things as a platoon. We did a couple as a company, which would have been 800 of us or something. We had that too, and there was a few wounded. Mm-hmm. None in my group.
So were you in the rear area, or you were in the front line and going with the soldiers together all the time?
Well, yeah, they went back and forth.
Tell me about
Every time you went back, you trained. Right from the minute you got to wherever, you trained, and they called it you're on the line or blocking position would be the next. You got 4 points if you're on the line on the going home thing. 4 points, 3 points in the blocking position, and 2 points if you're in Korea, just in Korea, I believe. So when the war ended, I had 19, and I think you needed 38, or I don't know what you needed. So I spent another year there, is what it amounts to. But
so you told me that in the basic the medic training, you just learn very simple stuff to stop the blood. But what were the things that you did mostly in the far front line where you got the 4.4? What did you do?
I was out on patrol every night. We went on patrol. I always had a medic if you had over 3 on a patrol, and I never saw a patrol go out without 3. Or usually a squad, at least 8 or 10 maybe, or could be more. It depends on what they're drumming up, But no man's land in between is, it could be a mile, it could be a half a mile, quarter of a mile, it could be, quarter of a mile would be real close, you're right. But more like a half a mile on. So at night we'd go on patrol, and
were you scared?
Not the first time.
But the more you know about it,
to be honest, I'll be honest here.
Yes, please.
I was more scared the second time.
Yep.
And third time, and after that, I took whatever, but I was more scared the second time. I didn't know what to expect the first time. Now, I pretty much stayed with the platoon leader and the radio man. I usually kept somewhere close to them, the best I could,
Did you carry the gun?
Yes, I had an M2 carbine, which
M2
I didn't know ahead of time that they carried guns. I didn't know. I had that, and that was the biggest mistake. I should have had a 45, because how am I going to hang on to that and have to have it strapped and work on something? That's the thinking there wasn't too good.
Yeah, that's not your mistake, but it's a military mistake.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's my opinion.
Yep.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And I know I'm right there.
Any disastrous or very dangerous moment that you could be killed during your service?
Yes.
Tell me, the detail. When was it? How did it happen? What did you do? Detail, because our young students will listen to your interview, and not many of them that I interview are medics. So you have a very unique position to explain to them.
Yeah. I can tell you, July 16th, I believe it was. Is it?
50?
Yeah, that was a bad one.
52?
3.
53.
That last month was, June and July was a little bit on the rough side, where we had a few wounded and this and that.
Yeah.
I got the Bronze Star for some reason. I don't know. I was just doing my duty. I don't know how that came about. Who put me in for it? I have no idea anything about it.
So you have a Bronze Star.
Yeah, with the letter V.
But what did happen in July 16th of 1953?
We got hit pretty hard, and I don't know. I never did hear how many got killed or whatever. I don't know. It was more than just our platoon. So it's, and how when we have a wounded, how do you get the chopper in there? The radio man has to call for it, and then they come up and say, we're going to throw a red flare, yellow, green, blue, or whatever, because they're coming. They don't know who's where, and that's how they spot our area. Someone else might be asking a quarter of a mile or a mile away, and so that's how they know where to come to. Because we're out in the middle of nowhere. There's no signs on.
You were wounded at the time?
No, my aid bag got wounded. Shrapnel came in, hit my methylate, and it was bleeding. It spread. It soaked up my bag. So, and the thing of it is that comes down to about here. It's nice to know that it hit the bag and not something somewhere else, maybe, you know.
Yeah.
But no, I did not get wounded. I was fortunate. Yeah.
So you must have seen many of our soldiers being killed in action or heavily wounded.
Some. Not that much, you know.
Okay. What were you thinking?
It wasn't just did our job, you know, and not was happy when things were settled down and we got back to where we belonged, you know.
In your medical bag, what did you carry? What items were in your bag?
APCs.
What is APC?
It's like aspirin. No, we got all that stuff. Maalox, something for the stomach. And then you got all your bandages and all that kind of stuff. You know.
Morphine?
Yeah, actually only one. I used that. I mean, that was it then. You know, they only evidently allowed us one. You know, I didn't know what the deal was there.
So there was only once that you had to use the morphine?
Yeah.
Wow, that's pretty good.
Because
when did you use it? For what occasion?
Soldier was hurting bad, really bad, and he says, "Doc," he says, "I'm hurting," and I see, you know, it's not much I do but get him back and just hope for the best. Never did know the outcome, you know. I don't know. So hopefully they made it okay.
When they take morphine, the pain just instantly gone, or what is going to be happening?
Well, it goes away probably pretty quick, but and how we know they give them morphine, you put the thing in on their shirt so they see that he has had the morphine.
I see.
So when it gets back, they don't give him another big dose or something, you know, or whatever, you know. There's different things that you learn as you go on, you know. I always thought I should have had more training, but I did work with doctors already where some got wounded and I were patching them up and they took me in there and I did everything but throw up, seeing all the wounded. And after that, a couple of times, that never bothered me anymore, which it was a good way to get started that way.
Right.
Not get sick out in the field, you know. So, I mean,
were you in a chopper to carry the wounded soldier back to the MASH unit?
No, all he had was a pilot.
They
had one pilot, and they had room for two, one on each side.
And did you have any chance to work in the MASH tent?
No.
Okay.
We went back there one time to get some supplies, and I saw one of my old cadre from basic training. Cadre, they're like corporals, and they have their stripes pinned on. They're just private E2 like we are after we get out of basic, you know. Anyway, he was a corporal really then, and I was a sergeant. I won't say what he said when he saw I was a sergeant. He was a corporal. And he was over me in basic training, you know. We have a lot of fun, you know, sometimes.
How much were you paid as a sergeant?
Oh boy, when I got $130 or something like that a month.
Did you get more paid because you are medic than?
No.
It's the same.
No, I tell you what, overseas pay, you get, I don't know if that was 12 cents an hour a day or 20 cents or something. Combat pay was $45. Now I think it's few hundred or whatever they have it now. I don't know. I'm not sure. It's $45. So you got that extra. As soon as the war ended, they chopped that right off. Right, that even though you were still on the front lines.
So you get $130 per month plus 45 common pay.
No. I started out at something like $72 or something. Mm-hmm. And then with the overseas, maybe that got it maybe up to 80, just guessing,
And then you are additionally paid $45.
Just the months that I got 4 points.
Yes.
That wouldn't have been not too many months, Mm-hmm. But when I got out, it was seemed like it was 135 or something like that when I got discharged.
So what did you do with that money?
Well, when I got the rest of it, I got a car as soon as I got home.
What did you buy?
Oldsmobile.
Oldsmobile, brand new one?
Yes.
Wow.
I worked for GM, and I ended up 36 years with them. But,
so like Gene, he worked in GM.
Yeah, we ran the company, and once we left, though, things got tough there with GM, didn't they? They went bankrupt a little bit for a while and all that good stuff.
So how much was that new Oldsmobile that you bought?
I'm guessing $32 or $3,400.
That's quite expensive, but you were able to do it because
it was
you saved.
Oldsmobile was a little bit up, it was a little more than what I could have bought.
So let me ask this question. What was the most difficult thing during your service in Korea? If I ask you to pinpoint only one thing that was very difficult.
Let me see. It wasn't working with our people.
You told me
that all went well, and the infantry, they took care of me. Being a medic, they watched over me the best they could, hoping that I would watch over them the same way, which I did.
Was it weather or something eating or anything?
No. Well, the food sometimes wasn't the greatest, but we didn't get sick, so evidently it was all good for us that we got. I can tell you more later on what we had to eat near the end of the war and all that.
Yeah, tell me now.
Okay, say the armistice is supposed to be signed at this certain day, the 27th of July.
July.
So that day we've had sea rations for the whole month. We've been eating not so good, for a while. They called sometime in the morning. They said there's going to be food down there. You have to go back about a mile. And they say go down in threes, something like that. Don't no more than 3 people at a time. So I went down, and I thought we had turkey, the best I could tell. I don't know where that come from like that, but it was really good. I came back up about a lot of the people that were going to get rotated home. They stayed in their foxhole, or they wasn't going to be out because both sides were firing over our heads, and they were getting a lot of wounded back 5 miles or more, 10 miles sometimes they said. So both sides seemed like they were getting rid of their artillery shells. So about 3 o'clock, they announced again, there's more food down there. Dumb me, I go down the second time.
Yeah.
Went down the second time, everything went fine. Came back, he said, going out on patrol. I said, well, not tonight. This is the end, this is it, 10 o'clock. So no, we kind of blackened our face up a little bit, and we're getting ready to go out. Sure enough, as soon as it got dark, somewhere between 8 and 9 o'clock, whatever it was, I didn't pay any attention there. I go out and I asked the lieutenant, I says, why are we going out tonight? And he says,
the Armistice Day, right?
Yeah. At 10 o'clock, right? So anyway, he says, well, we got orders. I said, well, yeah, I know that, but, I mean, that's a little common sense here, So anyway, we got out there, and we weren't there probably 15, 20 minutes, and he says, come back in. So we came back in like a herd of elephants, fast. And by my watch, 5 minutes to 10, silence. No more fire, no more noise at all. Then all night long, they shot flares up in no man's land in case the enemy's going to sneak in. So the next morning, they got all the Korean armies off the line, and they filled in with United Nations. We were kind of right on the edge, but we took over one area. And during all that time, Greece was the company, or the whatever, I'll say company, right next to us. And that always bothered me a little bit on the communication between us and who's, but everything evidently worked out okay. You asked me if I was concerned about anything. I was concerned about that slightly, but not really, nothing developed there. But after the war, after it ended, they give us each 2 cans of beer. And over next to us over there, they had a party like for 3 days. So evidently they got more than 2 cans of beer. So that was what we got out of.
So when did you leave Korea?
It was July. Don't know the date. It's about 2.5, 3, probably 3 weeks. The very first part of July, because I got out the 24th. The 24th of July, I got out. So I was only in 23 months, 22 months even.
So you left Korea July 1954?
Yes. But it had to be right the 1st of July.
But why did you stay longer than regular soldiers?
I had more time. And
did you volunteer to stay longer?
No.
No?
But it worked out real well, because if I had to serve another year, why not do it right there while, you're not going somewhere where you maybe train other ones or do this or do that. And we were ready to go back on the line. We were training the whole time. There was no low spot there.
So what did you do mostly after the ceasefire of July 27 of 1953?
Training. Or go up on the line for a short time and then come back again. And they move people around a little bit, Mm-hmm. After I was in the company about a year guessing, I got promoted. Well, I was senior medic there for a long time. Then I was at our headquarters, our company headquarters, you might say. One platoon of medics took care of a battalion of infantry. So I was assistant platoon leader there for just a short time, and then he went home, and I was platoon leader until I rotated home, which gave me a little different responsibilities, but.
Mm-hmm. And there should be other casualties, not from the skirmish or the fighting, but there should be wounded soldiers out of their practices or by mistakes, right?
Could be.
There are some incidents.
We had, when the war ended, they got rid of almost all the doctors. We had one doctor that went from one battalion to the next. And then we had the regimental surgeon, which is at MASH, at one of the MASH hospitals anyway. But they did get the medical people out of there relatively fast. Now we had a doctor and a pharmacist in our battalion. Mm-hmm. our 4 companies. And I got to work with them off and on. And very, very interesting. Treats you real good and could learn a little bit here and there, you know. You know, it was.
Were you able to go out of your camp and go visit Seoul or any other city in Korea?
No.
No?
No.
Have you been
Maybe
back?
I could. I don't know.
You didn't go out, you didn't go see Seoul?
No.
While you
it
were
wasn't
there.
in no shape. I'm sure at a certain point it got built up pretty fast because when we went back on the revisit program in 2010.
Tell me about it. What did you see? What do you think about it? Tell me the details.
I couldn't believe what I saw.
Tell me.
I could not believe. Okay, I saw some of our Greek friends there. We had them from Australia, Canada, Ethiopia, United States. Had like probably 6 different countries at the time I went. That they wined and dined us for 6 days. Got to see a lot of different things. Then after that, went to China. We walked the wall and we paid extra for the extended trip.
Let's talk about the Seoul that you saw after a long time. Tell me about the details.
It was the most beautiful city I've seen. It was everything just plush. You know, it was really nice. And right across from the 5-star hotel we were in that had heated toilet seats, which I couldn't believe. My wife, well, she was my girlfriend back then, but I guess she didn't believe it was that cold there, or that maybe we didn't have heated seats all that time we were there. I don't know if I think I got her to believe that, hey, this is different from a lot of years ago, you know. So we went there in October, which was beautiful. And because once you get up North Korea, it seems like just a mile or 2 more north, being so hilly, the temperature just drops so much more in such a short distance. So we noticed that difference a little bit when we traveled different areas, you know.
Where did you go when did you revisited to 2010? In Korea.
Seoul, yeah.
Seoul and
we came in the airport, which is near Incheon.
Incheon, and how was it?
The what?
Airport.
Yeah,
Was it bigger than the one in Crossville?
In Crossville? It was probably a little better than the one in Crossville. Crossville International, you mean here? Anyway, yeah, and then the bus ride, I'd say it's about 45 minutes bus to Seoul. And I was real surprised. Had all these condominiums,
apartments,
high rises. No single family houses. What we saw, lean-tos and different. Everyone seemed they were going to have they had nice housing, and it was all together. You know, it's not spread out.
What did you think about that changes?
I thought that was different. You know, I expected to see some of the stuff I saw before, to a certain degree at least. You know, I didn't see a single family house that I know of. You know, it was all high rises in clusters. You know, and I asked the gal, our guide, what's the room? What's the cost for that? She come up with $200,000 or something. I don't know if she knew for sure. And I guess the higher up, it costs more. And maybe you even got more room. I guess you have more of a family. If I understood her right, it was more space.
With a view, better view for the Han River. And we
crossed that Han a few times. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So You left Korea in 1954, right?
Yes.
And you had a pretty good chance to know about Korea at the time, right? How Korea was at the time, 1954, right?
It wasn't too good yet. It wasn't. I had no idea that things are going to shape up so fast.
See, that's
and
it.
How fast, I don't know, because I know in 2010 they expected to be where they were then in about 2050 maybe. Say in 100 years or whatever they figured, and they got there in about less than that, which was amazing,
So when you left in Korea, 1954, you never imagined that Korea would become like that today?
I said I would never want to come back. I changed my mind. I changed my mind, and glad I did. Because things weren't good there even when I left yet. They were still looking for food. They were still, they were. You see that a little bit, and that was sad,
Did you like Korean food at the time when you were there?
We had almost all American, okay. Yeah. Now the tough part was some of the houseboys, whatever, or the soldiers that might have got moved around. They might have been with another country and they got used to that food, and then the next thing they come to starting to eat the American food. They get used to that. Now, where's the next move? So they did mention that there was some slight problem with their stomachs. That's why I had that other Maalox and stuff, I guess.
So are you proud to be a Korean War veteran?
Am I what? I'm sorry.
Proud.
Yes.
Why?
Yeah. I'm proud I served my country and did the best I possibly could. That's all. I can't.
And this is the 70th anniversary of the Korean War. Has never been replaced by the peace treaty yet. Technically, Korean Peninsula is at war. What would you say to the Korean people? Special message to your Korean friends like Jim Byung-han and An Byung-mo.
I was glad I met them and got to know a little bit more about even though they were taken over by the Japanese, a lot of their sayings were something like in Japanese. Maybe I didn't get much of a chance to get a little more education in the Korean language,
What would you say to your Jim Byung-han, your friend?
Korean? What would I say to him?
Yeah.
I was honored to meet him, and I just thought he was the greatest. And
you said that you didn't know anything about Korea in your high school days.
No.
And now you know Korea, right? Twice. You've been there twice. What is Korea to you personally?
A pretty smart bunch of people. Yeah. Evidently, you don't get to be great without having good education or something. And something went really great for them. I know the United States had a lot to do with it, but there was a lot of countries involved, like 22 or 24 or whatever that figure was. As far as ground troops, it might have been 19 or 20 or whatever, but we had
16.
medical and had different
yes.
areas for the other field countries that didn't have soldiers to
That's right.
donate to the cause.
Any other special memory you had during your service in Korea?
When I got to Tokyo, all we got was fatigue, so I had fatigues on for the next over a year, And going home, we went home on the USS Gordon. They painted the whole ship outside so things were off limits quite a bit. But when we went the southern route. When we came back, we went the northern route by the Aleutian Islands and landed in Spokane or in Washington, and went to Fort Lewis, excuse me. Then about 4 days train ride to Chicago to Fort Sheridan is where I got out of service. Mm-hmm. And we had so many come in, 2 ships come in, one behind the other. There's so many getting out of service. So I was there probably almost about a week before we got processed out. They processed 250, 500 a day, 250 in the morning, and in the afternoon 250. So every day, 500 people they processed through. And any other? I was trying to think. It was, we had no one, we had free mail there. All you had to do was write free on where the postage stamp goes. It's Army, APO, Army Post Office number out of California, APO 468 or something close to that. Anyway, but we had no phone, we never talked to any. I talked to anyone I knew.
You didn't have a cellular phone at the time?
No, didn't have any of that. I did send dishes home to my mother and my girlfriend, which is my wife of 65 years now.
Wow, you are endangered species. Do you still keep that letter you wrote to your girlfriend and now your wife?
You mean if I wrote to her, then she got it. She probably got rid of it real quick. I don't know.
Okay.
I don't.
All right.
I never did question her how soon she threw all my letters away.
In the beginning you said that I don't remember much. I don't know how many stories that I can give you, but you gave me full stories, and it's been an hour already. It's that is the point that Korea came beautifully out of your service, as you saw in 2010. And that's why we want to tell this story to our younger generations in the classroom for the teachers, so that teachers can use your video interview in their classroom. Okay?
Okay.
Carroll, thank you so much for your service for the Korean nation. On behalf of Korean Republic of Korea, I want to thank you.
You're more than welcome.
Yep. And we'll make sure that your interview will be heard by the young generations in the United States. Thank you, sir.
Okay.